We're heading to the past to help you relax and drift off to sleep meaningfully. Don't forget to leave a positive review and rate this session, because by the end of our conversation, you'll be sound asleep. Close your eyes and let the story begin. Today we'll explore the most intriguing and sensational events related to unidentified flying objects. These incidents once captured the attention of millions, sparked heated media discussions, and became topics of serious debate among scientists, military personnel, and researchers worldwide. Some viewed them as visits from extraterrestrial civilizations, while others saw them as secret military projects or strange natural phenomena. Regardless of the interpretations, all these cases left a significant mark in history and continue to pique interest. It's remarkable that sightings of unusual celestial objects began long before modern science and aviation emerged. Even in ancient times, people documented strange phenomena that many today interpret as encounters with UFOs. For instance, Roman chronicles mention mysterious lights seen before significant battles. Historians report that before the pivotal Battle of Pharsala, which occurred during Julius Caesar's time, soldiers witnessed strange glowing figures in the sky, later interpreted as omens. However, the real buzz around UFOs arose in the 20th century, especially after World War II. During this time, regular reports emerged about unusual objects in the sky, moving at incredible speeds and performing maneuvers beyond known aircraft capabilities. The media actively picked up this topic, publishing eyewitness accounts and fueling public curiosity, leading to the creation of a new image of this mysterious phenomenon. We'll take a detailed look at the most vivid and interesting events many interpret as UFO encounters. We'll rely only on real testimonies, official documents, and verified facts to try to figure out what really happened in the skies above us. One of the most famous cases that significantly influenced the development of ufology was the Roswell incident, which occurred in 1947 in the small town of Roswell. While reports of UFO sightings existed before, such as the well-known case of pilot Kenneth Arnold on June 24, 1947, when he saw several fast-moving objects of unusual shapes over Washington state, it was after this incident that the term flying saucer entered common use. Nevertheless, the Roswell incident became the most discussed and significant event that sparked mass interest and public debates, solidifying the concept of UFOs in the public consciousness. In the summer of 1947, specifically on July 2nd, a severe thunderstorm with powerful lightning and thunder rolled through Roswell County. Many locals seeking shelter from the storm witnessed an unusual flash followed by a loud sound different from the usual rumbling. However, that evening, it didn't cause serious concern, as such weather phenomena weren't rare here. The real attention came from farmer William Brazel, who inspected his pasture after the storm on July 4th. He discovered strange metal fragments and debris of unknown origin scattered over a large area. According to the farmer, the debris looked unusual. Some resembled thin but incredibly strong foil, while others looked like lightweight metal beams. Unsure of what he found and unable to travel to town immediately due to the remoteness of his ranch, he reported it to local sheriff George Wilcox only on July 6th. The sheriff, in turn, notified the military since a U.S. Air Force base was nearby. The next day, military personnel arrived at the site and began collecting the found fragments. On July 8, 1947, the base command issued an official statement that quickly spread to all news agencies and hit the front pages. The military stated they had recovered a flying disc that had crashed near Roswell. This statement sparked immediate interest and heated discussions nationwide. The local press played an important role in disseminating the information. The newspaper that first published an article about the capture of the flying saucer on a ranch near Roswell attracted immense reader attention and generated wide public resonance, allowing the news to quickly reach across the United States and gain international fame. However, just a few hours after the initial report, the base command changed its stance, releasing a second statement claiming that no flying discs existed and that the found debris supposedly belonged to a weather balloon used in a secret project. According to the military, the aim of this project was to monitor Soviet nuclear tests with special high-altitude balloons equipped with sensitive instruments. Such a rapid change in narrative raised even more suspicions and questions in society, although many Americans did trust official communications at the time. Nevertheless, the weather balloon version remained the only official and widely circulated explanation for quite some time. However, eyewitness testimonies and the statements of military personnel, revealed much later, cast doubt on this official version. For example, Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer at the base responsible for the initial collection and analysis of the debris, later stated that the materials were clearly of unusual origin. He described one fragment as an incredibly lightweight metal that couldn't be bent or damaged even with significant force. He also mentioned strange symbols that didn't resemble any known language. However, it's worth noting that no photographs or documentary evidence of these symbols were ever provided, and this fact is based solely on the recollections of one of the key witnesses. Besides Marcel, locals who saw the debris before the military arrived described the unusual properties of the materials found and the strange appearance of the wreckage, denying that it could have been an ordinary weather balloon. Decades later, even more astonishing testimonies emerged. One of the most famous belongs to a local mortuary worker named Glenn Dennis. He claimed that shortly after the incident, the military approached him with an unusual request for small airtight coffins and inquired about how to preserve bodies at high temperatures. However, this testimony surfaced only in 1989, more than 40 years after the events, and was not supported by any evidence. Dennis also didn't disclose the name of the nurse from whom he allegedly received this information, making his testimony even more dubious. There are various opinions, and many researchers approach this topic with caution. Rumors that alien bodies were found alongside the wreckage became part of the myth surrounding the Roswell incident. Despite the absence, clear evidence of these rumors gained popularity and intensified the mystery surrounding the events. Decades after the Roswell incident, interest waned, but it reignited when several previously classified documents became declassified. In the 1990s, the US government, facing public pressure and requests from various groups, partially opened access to these materials. In 1994, the military released a major report confirming that the debris found in 1947 was merely parts of a high-altitude balloon from a secret program. However, the declassified documents revealed some intriguing previously unknown aspects. For instance, it turned out that the Mogul project really existed and was highly classified. The balloons used in the project were equipped with sensitive apparatus and special microphones that could detect low-frequency sound waves from explosions at considerable distances. This partly explained the secrecy surrounding the Roswell events, because information on such developments was crucial for Soviet intelligence, and leaks could threaten national security. Later, in 1997, a supplementary report offered an explanation for rumors about alien bodies. According to the authors, these rumors likely stemmed from misinterpretations of memories and the mixing of two unrelated secret projects, Mogul and a mannequin testing program to study human body behavior during ejection and falls from heights. The Air Force used mannequins in the 1950s, and the report's authors believed their presence could have sparked rumors about little gray beings. However, this explanation faced criticism since mannequin tests began only in the early 1950s, not aligning with the 1947 incident. Many researchers and ufologists remained dissatisfied with the official accounts. Among them was Dr. Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist who studied the Roswell incident for many years. Thanks to Friedman, the story regained public attention in the late 1970s. He was the first to discover and interview Major Jesse Marcel, making his memories of unusual debris widely known. Friedman pointed out that the military's official explanations didn't address several key questions, such as the reason for the initial flying saucer claim, the disappearance of crucial documents, and repeated independent witness reports of strange materials and bodies of extraterrestrial beings. According to Friedman and other researchers, many documents related to the July 1947 events were lost or destroyed without explanation, fueling suspicions of deliberate information concealment by the military. Friedman believed the military rushed to close the matter to reduce public focus on uncomfortable details. He urged the scientific community to examine not just official reports, but also eyewitness testimonies, which often contradicted the official narratives. Thus, even with numerous documents declassified and official explanations provided, the Roswell incident remains one of the most contentious and enigmatic chapters of modern times, sparking active discussions among those intrigued by the mysteries of our world. The next significant event in history was the Lights over Washington, which occurred in the summer of 1952. This case entered history as one of the most massive and mysterious episodes of unidentified object sightings. It happened directly above the American Capitol, including the White House area and other important government buildings. It all began late on the night of July 19, 1952. Air traffic controllers at Washington National Airport noticed several unknown objects on radar approaching the city. This raised concern as no aircraft were registered in that sector. Initially, controllers suspected equipment malfunctions, but after checking, they confirmed everything was functioning properly. Concurrently, reports began to pour in from city residents and pilots. People reported seeing glowing objects in the sky that moved rapidly, made sharp maneuvers, and clearly were not ordinary aircraft. The situation repeated a week later, on the night of July 26th, and the testimonies became even more numerous and detailed. Witnesses described the objects as glowing lights that could hover in the air, accelerate sharply, and perform maneuvers beyond the capabilities of regular planes. The objects appeared in groups and moved silently. Airport personnel again confirmed that radar tracked unidentified targets corresponding to visual sightings. The scale and credibility of the observations attracted media attention, and the case became known as the UFO invasion over Washington. Public discussions about the origins of these mysterious lights flared up with renewed vigor. The authorities reacted promptly. The Air Force dispatched several fighter jets from the nearest base to investigate the situation. However, every time the jets approached the sighting locations, the objects vanished from radar, and when the planes left, the lights reappeared. This behavior of the unidentified objects raised concerns among American military command and intelligence agencies. Official representatives of the Air Force were compelled to comment on the situation. At a press conference, Major General John Sanford stated that reports of unidentified objects came from many reliable witnesses, including air traffic controllers and pilots. However, despite confirmed radar observations, Sanford claimed, apparently, these glowing objects represent a natural atmospheric phenomenon, possibly related to temperature inversions and the peculiarities of radio wave propagation. Yet such explanations did not satisfy the public or many independent researchers, who noted the discrepancy between the official version and witness accounts. The objects seen by people and registered by radars displayed clear signs of controlled flight, performing maneuvers that exceeded ordinary natural phenomena and known aircraft of that time. Nevertheless, military authorities ceased to comment on this incident, asserting that all circumstances were clarified and there was no threat to national security. The events over the nation's capital attracted enormous interest from the media and the public. Newspapers and magazines competed vigorously to report every new eyewitness account, publish pilots and air traffic controllers' testimonies, and feature exciting reports from the scene. Leading American publications didn't just publish individual articles, they created entire thematic compilations, trying to make sense of what was happening in the sky over the city. This activity triggered a vigorous public response. At that time, Americans were in a state of heightened anxiety due to the Cold War, so unusual occurrences in the sky were perceived as a potential threat to national security and possible evidence of extraterrestrial visits to Earth. The editorial offices of newspapers and radios received thousands of letters and calls from citizens seeking explanations for what was happening. Many felt fear of the unknown, while others expressed genuine interest in studying unidentified objects, leading to a real UFO frenzy. When Air Force representatives attempted to explain what had happened by citing a rare atmospheric phenomenon, a wave of criticism followed. Independent experts and researchers began rigorously checking the validity of the proposed explanation, trying to reconcile it with the observed facts. A prominent critic of the official version was renowned scientist and astrophysicist James McDonald. He spent a lot of time analyzing radar data and eyewitness accounts. He emphasized that while temperature inversions might create false signals and optical illusions, this explanation failed to account for many details and specific observations. In contrast, the objects spotted over the Capitol performed clear, controlled, and complex maneuvers, which simple natural phenomena couldn't explain. MacDonald also pointed out that such atmospheric phenomena were quite rare and had never been observed in such a mass and pronounced manner before. An important aspect is the work of the government program studying unidentified flying objects, known as Project Blue Book. The events over the Capitol became one of the key episodes in this research, sparking serious discussions within the program. Staff realized this case was a true test since the quantity and quality of evidence significantly exceeded normal levels. Despite official support for the atmospheric phenomenon theory, some project participants later admitted they couldn't logically and convincingly explain all the details. Thus, despite the authorities' efforts to close the case and reduce public discussion, the events of 1952 continue to capture the attention of researchers and historians as one of the most intriguing mass UFO sightings. One of the most notorious and mysterious instances of UFO appearances in Europe was the Rendlesham Forest incident, which took place in December 1980 in the UK. This case, often dubbed the British Roswell, occurred near two NATO military bases used by the US Air Force. Late on the night of December 26, 1980, military personnel at the base noticed strange glowing lights coming from the nearby forest. Initially, they suspected it might be a downed aircraft or another flying object, leading the command to send a small team of soldiers to investigate. The reconnaissance group was led by Sergeant James Peniston, accompanied by Airman First Class John Burroughs and several other service members. They ventured into the forest, following the strange flickering light. Upon nearing the light source, they spotted an object described as a small triangular craft, about 3 meters wide and 2 meters tall. Peniston later claimed that the object was made of a smooth, unusually dense material resembling dark metal, and its surface bore engravings that looked like hieroglyphs, the origins of which remained a mystery. He also sketched the symbols in his notebook during the incident, which later became the subject of numerous studies and discussions among ufologists and experts. Witnesses reported that the craft emitted a bright but non-blinding light, and the surrounding air seemed saturated with static electricity. James later recounted that he even touched the object and felt warmth emanating from its surface, along with slight vibrations. After Peniston touched the object, it abruptly rose, hovered a few seconds above the ground, and then instantly vanished into the night sky. The next morning, military personnel returned to the scene to thoroughly inspect the area and document any physical traces. They discovered 3 depressions in the soil arranged in a perfect triangle, indicating that the object indeed rested on supports. The distance between the depressions was identical, and their depth and shape suggested the craft was quite heavy and stable. Experts also noted unusual changes in the surrounding vegetation. Trees at the landing site showed signs of heat exposure, while some branches and leaves appeared scorched and damaged. Radiation background measurements using a portable Geiger counter revealed increased levels of radioactive emissions in the area of the object's alleged landing, exceeding normal levels. 2 days later, on December 28th, similar lights appeared again over Rendlesham Forest, and military personnel once more witnessed unidentified glowing objects moving through the air, performing sharp maneuvers and glowing in various colors. This time, among the witnesses was Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, who personally went to inspect the area and later drafted an official memorandum detailing what he saw and recorded at the incident site. During the second incident, Colonel Holt not only witnessed the phenomenon, but also made an audio recording, where he described in real time the appearance of the glowing objects, their maneuvers, and other details of the observations. This audio recording became crucial historical evidence of the events in Rendlesham Forest. The detailed testimonies of American servicemen, official reports, and Holt's memorandum soon attracted media and public attention, making the case one of the most documented and serious incidents involving military witnesses. Some who were present during the incident, particularly John Burroughs and James Peniston, later reported health issues they linked to exposure to the mysterious object. Their medical complaints became the subject of thorough investigation, discussed as potential effects of radiation or other unknown factors. British authorities, while exhibiting restraint and formality regarding the investigation, were compelled to conduct their own inquiry, in addition to what had already been done by the American military. Unlike their American counterparts, who actively sought to clarify the incident's circumstances from the outset, the UK Ministry of Defence remained aloof for a long time, considering it an internal matter for American bases. Only under pressure from public opinion and the media did the department begin to participate more actively in the investigation. The British authorities' investigation involved gathering detailed testimonies from participants, analyzing documents, and searching for corroborations in official sources. The Ministry of Defense confirmed that military personnel indeed observed unexplainable phenomena and noted that eyewitness testimonies were credible. However, the authorities avoided official statements regarding the origins of the physical traces, merely mentioning the unclear nature of the phenomena. In the final report, the Ministry of Defense also stated that it had no information confirming extraterrestrial origins of the incident and emphasized the absence of a threat to national security. A significant aspect of the investigation was analyzing radar data, which could confirm or refute the presence of objects in the air. However, official documents and further studies failed to provide convincing radar evidence of the sightings. The lack of clear radar data became one of the weak points in the real craft theory. Nevertheless, the British government's reserved stance didn't convince journalists and researchers, who began actively covering the incident in the media. Leading publications, both British and international, published numerous articles seeking to uncover more details about the occurrence. Journalists highlighted that this event, unlike many other UFO reports, was accompanied by physical evidence and military testimonies, significantly increasing its significance and credibility. Scientific and independent experts' various theories and hypotheses emerged to explain the incident. In addition to cautious official statements, alternative explanations were proposed. Skeptics suggested secret military operations or tests of new NATO weaponry, which might have been mistaken for unidentified objects. Others believed the observed lights could have been rare natural phenomena, like ball lightning or unusual atmospheric electrical discharges. One common explanation claimed the light might have come from a nearby lighthouse. Skeptics thought the lighthouse's flashes could have been misinterpreted by military personnel in an unfamiliar area. However, witnesses, including Peniston and Holt, firmly rejected this idea, stating they knew the lighthouse well and its lights couldn't be mistaken for unusual moving objects. Some ufologists and researchers speculated that US and UK authorities might have intentionally withheld information about the object's extraterrestrial nature to prevent panic and protect classified military projects. Yet, these theories remain unverified by documents or official acknowledgements. Now, let's move to Canada, where on October 4, 1967, residents of a small fishing village witnessed a strange and unexplainable event. This case holds a special place among ufological incidents, as it was officially documented by Canadian authorities and involved extensive search operations. It all began around 11 p.m. when locals, fishermen, and drivers along the coast saw a brightly glowing object moving toward the ocean. Witnesses noted that the object had a disc shape with bright lights and left a noticeable fiery trail. They described how the unidentified object silently flew over them, then sharply descended and quickly entered the water off the coast of Shag Harbor, about 2 kilometers from shore. Shocked witnesses thought it was an aircraft crash and immediately reported the incident to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Officers arrived on the scene just minutes later and witnessed an unusual sight themselves. Strange yellowish lights shimmered on the ocean surface, floating approximately 300 meters from the shore. The police contacted the Coast Guard and Canadian Navy, officially reporting the crash of an unidentified flying object and the need for an urgent search and rescue operation, suspecting there might be people on board. The Canadian Navy swiftly responded, sending several rescue vessels and diving teams to the scene. The operation began almost immediately, with military personnel coordinating with local police and residents. Over the following days, divers thoroughly searched the seabed and surrounding areas, but found no traces of an aircraft, helicopter, or fragments of known crafts. These circumstances became particularly intriguing and received widespread media coverage. Canadian and international publications actively reported on the event, emphasizing the strangeness of the situation. Newspapers featured eyewitness accounts and police statements, highlighting that officials had confirmed the crash of an unidentified object in the waters of Shag Harbor. For many years, this incident remained a mystery. However, in the 1990s, due to inquiries from independent researchers and ufologists, the Canadian government partially declassified documents related to the case. The released materials confirmed the authorities' serious approach to this incident. It turned out that Canadian military and police indeed believed they encountered an unidentified object, the origin of which remained undetermined. The documents emphasized that the search operation was large-scale and professionally organized, but didn't provide explanations about what exactly happened that night. Interestingly, Canadian authorities officially used the term unidentified flying object in their documents, which is a rare case of acknowledging such incidents. Currently, the Shag Harbor incident is considered one of the most compelling and well-documented UFO sightings. Its uniqueness lies in the fact that official authorities openly acknowledged the crash of an unidentified object, but couldn't provide a rational explanation. Among modern researchers, several main interpretations of the events exist. Skeptics speculate about a possible crash of a secret military craft or a satellite that wasn't supposed to be there due to rapid flooding or currents. Some experts believe that the location known as Shag Harbor became the landing point or crash site of an actual unidentified flying object. One of the most notable cases in the history of UFO sightings occurred over the Iranian capital Tehran on September 19, 1976. This incident gained significant notoriety due to the involvement of professional pilots from the Iranian Air Force, which ensured a high degree of credibility for the sightings and subsequent investigation. It all began around 11:30 p.m. local time, when residents in northern Tehran began calling the police and local airport control tower, reporting a strange object in the sky. According to eyewitnesses, the object emitted bright, multicolored lights and was considerably larger and brighter than a typical star or airplane. Given the volume of reports, the Iranian Air Force Command decided to scramble fighters to investigate the phenomenon and determine its nature. The first to take off was an F-4 Phantom jet, piloted by Captain Mohammad Aziz Khani. As he approached the object at about 40 kilometers away, the pilot noticed serious failures in the aircraft's control and communication systems. The first fighter experienced significant interference in radio communication and navigation equipment. Due to safety concerns for the crew and the aircraft, Aziz Khani had to return to base and report the incident. After his return, the command decided to send another F-4 fighter, piloted by Major Parviz Jafari, an experienced pilot with many years of service. When Jafari approached the object, he confirmed Captain Aziz Khani's visual sighting, noting that the unidentified object was enormous and brightly lit, changing color and intensity. Jafari stated that at one point the unidentified object unexpectedly released a small glowing object toward the fighter, resembling a missile. The pilot perceived this as an attack and attempted to prepare the aircraft for a counter-response. However, at that moment, the aircraft's technical equipment completely malfunctioned. The radar system failed, and the targeting and weapon systems stopped responding to the pilot's commands. Major Jafari tried to perform an evasive maneuver, but the released glowing object suddenly changed direction and returned to the main object, merging with it. Immediately after that, the aircraft's systems resumed normal function as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, the primary unidentified object continued moving, slowly descending, and eventually hovering over a deserted area near Tehran. The pilot observed how the object lowered to a low altitude and illuminated the ground below with a bright light. Then, without waiting for any actions from the fighters, the object accelerated sharply and vanished into the night sky. The next day, the Iranian Air Force Command issued an order: conduct a thorough reconnaissance of the designated landing site. However, inspections of the area where the pilot observed the object hovering and landing found no physical traces or material evidence of the event. Despite this, the command took the incident seriously and initiated an official investigation. The testimonies of both pilots and the base dispatchers were meticulously documented, as were the technical failures experienced by the aircraft. The unusual nature of this event attracted the attention of not only Iranian authorities, but also intelligence agencies from other countries. American intelligence also learned about the case and studied the situation closely. Later, thanks to the declassification of documents from the American Military Intelligence Agency, it became clear that the incident was considered at a high level. These documents confirmed the presence of unexplained technical failures and the extraordinary nature of the object, without finding a rational explanation for what happened. The reports confirmed that the crews encountered an unknown phenomenon, which caused significant issues with the fighter jet's technical equipment and exhibited capabilities far exceeding the technology of that time. Additionally, official reports considered the possibility of espionage activities by a foreign power such as America or the Soviet Union. However, these assumptions were dismissed due to a lack of technology that could explain the observed capabilities of the object. Currently, various theories exist to explain the incident. Skeptics often propose that the pilots might have experienced unusual atmospheric or magnetic phenomena, such as ball lightning or naturally occurring electromagnetic interference. However, professional experts and the pilots themselves rejected these theories, asserting that the object displayed clearly purposeful and controlled behavior, while the equipment failures were too specific and selective to stem from simple natural factors. Yet, similar unusual cases occurred not only in modern history, but also in the distant past. One of the most striking and peculiar events of this kind was the so-called celestial battle over the German city of Nuremberg on April 14, 1561. Early that morning, hundreds of Nuremberg residents, going about their daily routines, witnessed a completely incredible and frightening spectacle. At dawn, the sky above the city suddenly lit up with numerous strange objects of various shapes and sizes: spheres, cylinders, crosses, and discs. According to preserved historical documents and records from that time, these objects began moving chaotically and unpredictably across the sky, engaging in collisions, which later residents called the Celestial Battle. Some of the objects performed sharp maneuvers, colliding with each other in the air, producing flashes of light and sparks. Historical documents do not specify the duration of this phenomenon, but emphasize that it occurred at dawn and lasted long enough to attract the attention of many residents. The people of Nuremberg watched this incredible scene, filled with panic and fear, as they had never seen anything like it before. Chronicles describe that after the collisions, some objects allegedly fell, leaving behind thick smoke. However, no evidence of debris or physical remnants of these objects has been preserved. Conversely, other objects rapidly disappeared over the horizon. According to eyewitness accounts, after these unusual events, one large object resembling a black spear remained in the sky. It stayed motionless for a while before gradually vanishing. Just a few days later, descriptions and drawings of the incident were published in a pamphlet, a printed publication from that time, compiled and published by Hans Glaser. This document became widely known, as it featured a vivid engraving illustrating what the people of Nuremberg had seen. Thanks to this historical source, we know today about the details of this event. Over the centuries, historians and researchers have attempted to explain this unusual phenomenon, proposing various theories regarding the events of 1561. Modern researchers often mention rare atmospheric phenomena, such as halos and parhelia, which could have been perceived by Nuremberg residents as unusual objects. A halo is an optical phenomenon appearing as a glowing ring or arcs around the sun or moon, resulting from the refraction and reflection of light in ice crystals in the atmosphere. Parhelia, also known as sundogs, is an optical effect where bright spots form on either side of the sun in a similar manner. These phenomena can create unusual visual effects that might have been perceived as wonders or mystical signs in the Middle Ages. While modern science explains these phenomena, it cannot fully account for all the complex movements of the objects described by eyewitnesses. Skeptics argue that such optical phenomena usually lack complexity and aren't accompanied by multiple clearly defined objects interacting with one another. Another hypothesis suggests that the residents of Nuremberg might have witnessed a meteor shower or meteorites falling, with bright flashes and smoky trails. However, this explanation also fails to satisfy researchers, as witnesses described complex trajectories and movements of the objects. Records from the ancient Greek historian and philosopher Plutarch also provide interesting evidence of unusual celestial events. He described a strange phenomenon observed during the famous battle at Pharsalus in 48 BCE. This battle was a pivotal moment in the civil war of the Roman Republic, when the armies of two prominent generals, Julius Caesar and Gnaeus Pompey, clashed. The battle took place in modern Greece and determined Rome's future. In his biography of Caesar, Plutarch mentions an unusual phenomenon in the sky before the decisive battle began. He describes a bright, fiery light slowly moving across the night sky. Reactions among the soldiers varied. Pompey's supporters perceived it as a bad omen, while Caesar's soldiers saw it as a sign of luck. History shows that the battle ended in a decisive victory for Caesar, after which Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was killed. Plutarch interpreted the observation within the context of the religious beliefs of his time, not attempting to explain it scientifically or as an external intervention. In ancient times, such celestial signs were taken very seriously, often interpreted within the frameworks of religious beliefs and superstitions. Modern researchers offer various hypotheses about what the soldiers might have seen at Pharsalus. Many lean toward the idea of witnessing a bright meteor that could have made a strong impression on the battle participants. The meteor shower theory is less likely since Plutarch only mentions one large fiery object. Some proponents of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations believe that the account of the battle at Pharsalus is one of the earliest recorded sightings of a UFO in ancient times. They speculate that ancient people might have perceived it as a visit or observation of an alien craft over significant historical events. Regardless, the phenomenon described by Plutarch continues to intrigue researchers and history enthusiasts, remaining one of the most mysterious mentions of unusual celestial phenomena in ancient texts. Now let's move to Belgium in the late 1980s and early 1990s, where a series of mass and documented sightings occurred, of unidentified flying object sightings, known in history as the Belgian UFO wave. This case became famous due to numerous witnesses, military involvement, and detailed official reports. It all started on the evening of November 29, 1989, when the police in the city of Eupen received many calls from worried citizens. They reported large triangular objects moving in the night sky, with bright lights at each corner. Witnesses noted that the objects moved completely silently, hovered in the air, and then suddenly accelerated, performing maneuvers that seemed impossible for known aircraft at the time. Reports came from neighboring areas, prompting local authorities to seek help from the country's Air Force to investigate the situation. The military took the issue seriously, and by December, they had launched fighter jets equipped with modern radar and surveillance equipment. The pilots not only visually tracked the triangular objects, but also recorded them on radar. Later, declassified documents from the Belgian Air Force detailed how the unidentified targets appeared on radar screens, confirming eyewitness accounts. According to pilots' reports, as they approached the objects, they suddenly changed course and speed, evading pursuit. The maneuverability and speed of these objects far exceeded the capabilities of all known aircraft at that time. Official reports included data from the fighters' onboard radars, as well as information from ground radars and confirmed observations from NATO. These sightings continued for several months, from November 1989 to April 1990. During this period, around 2,000 reports were registered, including from civilians, police officers, military personnel, and even commercial pilots. Almost all testimonies agreed on the triangular shape of the objects, the presence of bright lights, and incredible maneuverability. The most notable episode occurred on the night of March 30-31, 1990, when Belgian military forces again deployed 2 fighter jets. The pilots detected several targets on radar and pursued them for about an hour. However, the objects once again demonstrated the ability to instantly change speed and altitude, avoiding close encounters. This incident was officially documented and became one of the most significant confirmations of the mystery surrounding the Belgian UFO wave. It's worth noting that one of the most famous photographs taken in April 1990, often mentioned as proof of the events, later faced criticism and was deemed unreliable. An important aspect of the situation was that Belgian authorities did not hide what had happened. On the contrary, they exhibited rare transparency by providing the public and media with detailed reports on the investigations conducted, including radar recordings and event descriptions. General Wilfried de Brouwer personally held press conferences and made repeated statements on the matter. Reports indicated that the agency couldn't explain the observed phenomena based on known technologies or natural processes. One popular theory suggested it was connected to secret tests of American stealth aircraft, like the F-117 model. However, US officials denied any rumors about conducting such tests or flying their aircraft over Belgian territory during that period. Some skeptics attributed the wave of sightings in Belgium to a mass psychological reaction sparked by media reports. Yet this theory couldn't explain the radar confirmations, numerous independent visual sightings, and the official reports from military pilots. Despite the radar data and visual evidence, researchers and military personnel failed to find any physical clues or material proof of the presence of unidentified objects, which only deepened the mystery of these events. The Belgian wave became an example of open cooperation between authorities, researchers, and the media, significantly influencing the perception of UFO phenomena in different countries. It was this transparency from Belgian authorities that made these cases unique and particularly convincing. Many researchers and ufologists consider the Belgian wave one of the most serious and documented cases of UFO sightings in recent history. Various theories exist regarding the nature of these phenomena, ranging from speculation about secret military tests to theories about extraterrestrial origins of the observed objects. However, none of the presented theories have been definitively confirmed. Now let's turn our attention to the United States, specifically to Arizona, where on the evening of March 13, 1997, an event known as the Phoenix Lights occurred. This unusual phenomenon, covering an area from Nevada to Mexico and witnessed by thousands, is one of the major mass UFO sightings. That evening, two distinct events took place. The first and most memorable sighting occurred between 8 o'clock and 8:30 p.m., when a massive object crossed Arizona from northwest to southeast. Thousands of witnesses saw this enormous object composed of bright lights moving silently across the night sky. Observers noted that the object was so large it blocked out the stars, creating the impression of a monolithic structure. It moved slowly, without sharp maneuvers, gradually disappearing over the horizon. The second event, observed around 10 p.m., consisted of a group of stationary lights over a military testing area, which were later officially explained as flares launched. These events caused an incredible public reaction. Residents began to flood the police and local radio and TV stations, demanding explanations. Initially, authorities didn't take active steps to clarify the situation, but under public pressure, they soon had to comment. The initial response from officials was restrained, even ironic. The governor of Arizona attempted to lighten the mood with a joke, inviting a person dressed as an alien to the press conference. This move displeased many witnesses, as they perceived the incident very seriously. After his term ended, he repeatedly claimed to have witnessed the object himself and became an advocate for serious research into such phenomena, emphasizing that it was an impressive and unexplained event. Amid the mass discussions and media pressure, the US military made an official statement declaring that the lights observed at 10 p.m. were merely flares launched during National Guard exercises. However, this explanation faced strong criticism from independent experts and witnesses, particularly regarding the first sighting. Witnesses categorically rejected this version, pointing out that the observed object moved slowly, maintaining its shape and trajectory for about 300 kilometers, which is not characteristic of flares that quickly descend and drift with the wind. Moreover, witnesses emphasized the complete lack of noise from the object, which also contradicted the military's version. Additional confirmation of the seriousness of the event came from the official testimonies of several commercial pilots who also observed the object from altitude, and they reported this to ground services. The Federal Aviation Authorities confirmed that there were no unusual weather conditions or civil aviation operations that evening that could explain the phenomenon observed. These contradictions only fueled public and media interest. The Phoenix Lights were discussed in news broadcasts, newspapers, and documentary programs for the following years. Many television channels dedicated numerous programs to this event, featuring both witnesses and experts from various fields. This incident quickly became one of the most well-known and discussed in the field of ufology in the United States. Modern researchers and experts evaluate the incidents differently. Among skeptics, the military's explanation regarding the second event remains popular. According to this version, the observed lights resulted from training exercises and the launch of illumination rockets. At the same time, another group of specialists believes witnesses might have seen an unknown military aircraft utilizing technologies still classified. As we conclude our discussion, we'll focus on key events in recent years related to the phenomenon of unidentified flying objects and examine recently declassified materials from the Department of Defense. These materials significantly change public and expert perceptions of unidentified aerial phenomena, elevating the subject to a new level of public and scientific importance. In April 2020, the Pentagon officially declassified and published 3 videos taken by Navy pilots for the first time. These clips were filmed over different years. The first video, known as FLIR, was recorded during the famous carrier incident in November 2004. The other 2 videos were captured by carrier pilots in 2015. These recordings depict objects with anomalous characteristics, sudden changes in flight direction, unusual shapes, and the absence of visible engines or wings. Additionally, in 2019, other videos emerged, which were later confirmed and declassified in 2021. These clips garnered significant public attention and intensified serious discussions about the origins of unidentified aerial phenomena. After these videos were officially recognized as authentic, the Department of Defense established a special task force, which in 2022 transformed into an Office for Anomaly Research. This agency began regularly publishing reports on unidentified objects and conducting open hearings for Congress, demonstrating an unprecedented openness about the subject. In early 2024, the agency presented an extensive report to the public, containing a detailed analysis of unidentified object sightings recorded by the government from 1945 to 2023. This report emphasizes that there was no direct evidence of extraterrestrial origin and critically assesses widespread claims about alleged secret programs for reverse engineering extraterrestrial crafts. It notes that such theories often rely on repetitive and unverified sources, creating only an illusion of evidence. In recent years, new video recordings, primarily obtained through drones in 2023 and 2024, have been released. Some footage shows objects with unusual shapes, which experts classified with high confidence as foil balloons. However, there's no conclusive certainty, leaving many questions unanswered. On November 13, 2024, significant hearings took place in Congress on this matter. Among the speakers were Luis Elizondo, who previously headed intelligence programs, Rear Admiral Timothy Gallaudet, former chief meteorologist of the Navy, NASA Representative Michael Gold, and renowned investigative journalist Michael Schellenberger. They all emphasized the need for a scientific approach to the issue and the national security risks associated with unidentified objects, advocating for removing the stigma surrounding UFOs. Notably, Timothy Gallaudet's remarks drew attention during the hearings. He shared how he first realized the seriousness of the UFO problem in 2015, when he received a video during a closed session warning of a potential collision between pilots and an unidentified object. The information vanished without explanation the following day, and no official investigations followed, alarming Gallaudet and prompting him to demand transparency and serious inquiry into the issue. The hearings also revealed information about a potential secret program referred to as Immaculate Constellation. Some participants claimed this program allegedly conducts covert analysis and study of potential crash sites of unknown origin. Although the Pentagon officially denied the existence of such a program, its mention sparked public interest. It's important to note that no official report claimed any of the phenomena studied had extraterrestrial origins. Official bodies only acknowledge that many cases remain unexplained, given current knowledge and technology. Nevertheless, several experts continue to assert a serious threat to national security, calling for greater transparency, regular data publication, and the involvement of independent researchers. Recent events, linked to official recognitions and the declassification of materials, significantly heightened the relevance of unidentified aerial phenomena and turned it into a topic for serious scientific and political discussions. Questions about the nature and origins of these phenomena remain open, but it's clear this area has become a crucial part of scientific and societal discourse, necessitating further in-depth research. As we wrap up the lecture, it's worth pondering why we lack convincing evidence of alien visits. Despite numerous sightings, definitive confirmations of contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations are still absent. Modern science and philosophy offer several explanations for this paradox. The first theory, known as the rare earth hypothesis, argues that the emergence of intelligent life is an extremely unlikely event. It suggests that conditions on our planet, such as a stable climate and favorable location in the galaxy, create a combination of factors that occur very rarely. Perhaps civilizations like ours appear so infrequently that encountering other life forms in the vastness of the universe is simply impossible. Another popular theory is the Great Filter. It posits that intelligent life may arise fairly frequently, but faces serious obstacles, such as global wars or ecological disasters, preventing civilizations from developing to the stage of interstellar travel. According to this hypothesis, we either already passed our Great Filter or it lies ahead. There's also a philosophical hypothesis known as the zoo theory. It suggests that advanced extraterrestrial civilizations intentionally avoid contact with humanity, observing us like humans observe animals in reserves without interfering in their lives. Within this theory, humanity might simply not be ready for such contact, and more advanced civilizations prefer to maintain their distance. Finally, there's a simpler explanation related to the vast distances between stars. Even if there are many civilizations in the universe, the distances between them might be so great that traveling becomes extremely complicated and costly for the most technologically advanced races. Recently, scientific circles discussed an exoplanet located about 124 light-years from Earth. This planet is likely a super-Earth or mini-Neptune. Scientists found biological markers in its atmosphere similar to those produced by marine microorganisms and some algae on our planet. However, even if we imagine a hypothetical spacecraft traveling near the speed of light, the journey to this exoplanet would take over 100 years, exceeding human lifespan and technology. Still, we live in an era of rapid technological advancement. Astronomers are constantly discovering new exoplanets, some in the so-called habitable zone that could potentially support life. Modern powerful space telescopes, like James Webb, are already studying the atmospheres of these distant worlds in search of signs of life. Thus, we might soon witness amazing discoveries that will change our understanding of the universe and our place within it.